So overall, this is toward the end of the journey of these people. Edward Sylvester Morse, Okakura Kakuzo here, the second man, and then the third man, Penelosa, and then William Bigelow, like here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. They became good friends. Okakura Kakuzo here, the Japanese man, he was very good at English, actually students of Penelosa. So these four became cultural ambassador of Japan. But what is interesting is when Okakura Kakuzo, who is impeccably dressed in European suit and who can speak English flawlessly, when he came to Boston, this is when they are in Japan, but when they came to Boston, Okakura Kakuzo often went to parties and social events in this robe. What do you think of Okakura Kakuzo's robe? Is it Japanese clothing, or what would be the national origin of it? Any comment? So Okakura Kakuzo, this is his own design. He dressed this robe following Chinese Confucian dress. What's the name of the Chinese Confucian dress that we studied? You remember Sheni? So this was Okakura Kakuzo's ideas. So when he was living in Japan, he wanted to present himself as a modernized gentleman. But when he came to Boston, he didn't want to be seen as a Japanese man in European dress. So he actually wanted to accentuate his ethnicity and then create a uniqueness, so that he designed that we usually call it like a pseudo Chinese dress, because it's not even Chinese at all. He also used European woolen textiles to create his Chinese robe. Anyhow, so that's interesting case. And then if you see another gentleman next to Okakura Kakuzo, this is a man named Robert Levy. He was an Ottoman Jewish merchant. So his ethnicity is a Jewish merchant. But because he was living in Ottoman Empire, he often dressed himself as a Turkish man. And then he would do business with buyers from Austria or Germany and so forth. You know, sometimes your ethnicity can be an asset or your brand. So some people strategically use their authenticity or ethnic culture for their own advantage. So this type of ethnic robe and your identity has a long-lasting traditions. So for example, Rubens, Peter Paul Rubens, you know, an amazing painter from the 17th century, he painted this man. And if you look carefully, dress is Chinese official dress. But if you see the face, this is not Chinese. So his name is Nicolas Trigo. He's a Flemish Jesuit missionary who was living in China for a while. So when he briefly came back to Belgium, like there was no Belgium at the time, but Habsburg Empire to visit his family and the church, Rubens asked him to dress up in his Chinese style clothes and then depicted his portraiture. So again, in European culture, you have this tradition of non-Europe cultural cross-dressing, like a non-Europeans dressing in other people's ethnic dress. It is already very well established since the age of geographic exploration, we take for granted. We see these people like a Frederick Starr or Alexander Singleton or Charles Longfellow. People feel that it is a common thing to do. Like if you go to another country, you will wear the country or that community's traditional robe and act as if you are part of it. But what you are forgetting is people like Nicola Trigo or Bigelow or this Alexander Singleton too. Some people deserve to be in that ethnic robe because they truly understand this culture. Versus Longfellow, that the young man, that Longfellow here, his understanding is rather superficial, and he picked and chose what he liked about Japanese culture, not as the whole something. So something to think about. And then here, this is an Ottoman woman, princess, and this is also 17th century. So Europeans also enjoyed watching what other ethnic groups dress themselves like. So this one is showing it's very important literature, like all those major princesses of the Ottoman Turkish Empire and their portraiture, and they expected to see these kind of exotic dress or depictions of non-Western groups.